The 70s. If you're into rock music, not such a great era. We lost Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and the Beatles split up. Worst of all, the Rolling Stones kept going. But if you're into superbikes, you're in luck. This is the era when things went crazy. Now outside it is a blistering hot day, but right now we're inside the testosterone-charged environs of Paul Brace's ultimate 70s man cave, somewhere in southern England. The superbiking 70s actually started in 1969 with a bike much like this, the Honda CB750 Four. This is a K3 version, it's later, it's from 1973. But the original, in 1969, when it was launched, was accompanied by the sound of jaws dropping all over the world. It set the British industry into a tailspin, and it set Kawasaki back to the drawing board, because they were also preparing to launch a 750 Four. This is the bike that broke the mould.
The funny thing about the 750 is out on the road, it's so capable it feels a bit bland, like a modern retro.
Not satisfied with the 750, 2 years later, in 1971, Honda brought out its little brother, the 500 Four. This is a little gem of a bike. It's an original K0 from 71 with only 2,621 miles on it. Now the thing about the 500 was that the world wasn't quite ready for the superbike revolution. Road testers said, why do you need a 750? Why do you need all that horsepower? This was much loved.
The 500 Four's engine can be a little screamer. You can't rely on torque to get you through the gears, but if you want to get some motion going, all you have to do is give it some berries.
While Honda was getting corporately more sensible, introducing smaller and more civilized bikes, Kawasaki decided to go the other way. It had already shocked the world in 1969 by launching a two-stroke triple 500cc called the H1. People called it the Widowmaker because of its dodgy handling and poor brakes. Now, where are you going to go after that if you're Kawasaki? Well, you launch a 750, a bigger one. Cycle magazine called it evil, wicked, mean and nasty. Perhaps they were just being nice.
The motor and controls on this thing feel so primitively brutal, you wonder if it really should be road legal.
Kawasaki's H2 750 was busy causing shock horror headlines, maiming owners and scaring magazine road testers. Was Kawasaki worried? Not one bit, because it had this ace up its sleeve. In 1973, it launched the Z1. Some people think that this is the real first superbike. It's got twin overhead camshafts, it had beautiful looks, it had 82 brake horsepower, and you could run it out of the crate at a drag strip or across America. It would just do everything. This was the game changer.
Is this really a 1973 bike? Everything feels so smooth and powerful.
Kawasaki Z1 basically sounded the death knell for the big two-stroke, but one of them clung on. The GT750, Suzuki's water buffalo or kettle, call it what you will, people still loved this smoky old beast. In fact, it's the coelacanth of big two-strokes. This is the 1977 version. So this Susie managed to hang on from the end of the Beatles to punk rock.
Yes, the big GT's got a punky, smoky engine, but in fact it's comfortable, smooth and sophisticated.
Now, is this a real superbike? Launched in 1975, it really polarised opinions. It's certainly big, it's certainly powerful. In fact, it was the fastest accelerating bike of its day. But it's built like a car. This tank isn't a tank, it's got the electrics in it, the fuel tank's down there, and it's got a car-like horizontally opposed four-cylinder engine. Now, the magazine writers called it Big Bertha, they called it a behemoth, they called it bloated, just like the Who at the time. But one thing you can say about the GoldWing is it had legs. You can cross the world on it, and they're still making them today.
I was expecting the GoldWing to handle like a sherry trifle, but in fact it covers the miles with comfort and aplomb because it batters bumps into submission.
Kawasaki Z1 and its derivatives ruled the superbike roost from 1973 until 1978. So renowned was it, it was called the King. But there's a thing about kings. Sooner or later, someone's going to knock them off their throne. And this was the bike that did it, Suzuki's GS1000. Suzuki ditched the smoky two-stroke GT750 and embraced four-stroke technology. How did they do it? Well, quite frankly, they copied Kawasaki. Suzuki had to introduce chrome camshaft covers on this thing to make it look different from the Z1. Okay, it was a copycat. But there's one thing about being second in the race. You learn, you do better, and you win.
Susie's wide seat and hefty front end initially feel a handful, but that impression just falls away when you open the throttle.
Trust Honda to get the last word on the Superbike 70s. It might have been a time when you thought you'd seen everything in the shape of superbikes, and then they came out with this. 6 cylinders across the frame, loads of camshafts, loads of valves, loads of everything. Didn't actually sell that many, but it secured Honda's reputation as the big bike power maker by dint of being on every schoolboy's bedroom wall.
The CBX might indeed have been a bit of a marketing gimmick, but that doesn't matter out on the roads. The fact is, you can forget all that 6-cylinder super caboodle and just enjoy an amazing, unique turbine-like ride. And if you want to turn the world into reverse, just open the throttle.
Oh!